Welcome to Better, the podcast about doing better, being better, and leaving the world a better place than we found it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Better, Do Better, Be Better, Make the World a Better Place. I'm your host, Jay. And on this podcast, I talk about my own personal betterment journey. I talk to guests. Today, we have WWE legend Tito Santana with his better moment. I just dive into doing better. And before I do that, I want to talk about this, of course. The Last First Date, my book, out on Amazon. It's paperback, it's hardcover, it's ebook, and it will be an audiobook eventually. Working on it. This kind of ties into this subject, actually, now that I think about it. So on Sunday, I'm going to be doing the book release for The Last First Date here in Winnipeg. It's a dinner. There's a comedian named Nelson Mayer. I'll be doing a reading. There's literary games and prizes. The music, the playlist is very curated for good vibes. The people that I invited, I didn't just kind of I really focused in on people that I thought would lend to a good energy in the room, because I kind of realized, I used to have a lot of days every week where it was just good vibes. And in today's climate, that's actually a very hard thing to achieve, especially when you got a lot of people that are involved. So putting together this book release, I thought to myself, how can I make it as positive as possible? So I told everybody, I'm like, look, let's leave politics at the door and climate change and all these crazy topics that have completely taken over our lives, and let's just have a good time. So the book release became about, the catchphrase for it is, let's celebrate literature, love, because it's on Valentine's weekend, and the book is a contemporary romance book. Let's celebrate literature, love, and everything local. There's a big push here in Canada to buy local and to basically involve yourself with local. So the restaurant's local, the comedian is local. I'm a local author. It's very local. And when thinking about what kind of party I wanted to have, I started telling people, I'm like, it's good vibes, good people. And I wanted people to understand that going into it, because I really didn't want an atmosphere of the typical night out these days, where it always ends up on politics. It always ends up being serious. It always ends up with, somebody going home and saying, that idiot like so-and-so or whatever, right? So I really want to stick to the positive vibes. And I really wanted to make it just a happy place to be. As cheesy as that concept might sound to some people, I want it to be as happy as it can be, which ties into this subject I want to talk about. And that is, are you where you want to be? So I held a poll, a few hundred people on an Instagram story. I just simply asked yes and no. Are you happy where you are? Do you feel like you are where you wanted to be at this stage in your life? And 90% of people said absolutely not. And then some people said yes. To the people who said no, I asked them, well, what do you think is the driving factor behind that? And for the people that said yes, I said, well, what is the driving factor behind that? The people who said yes, the driving factor behind it was that they identified something which I'm going to talk about. And it wasn't everybody, but when I drilled down with them, they realized, yes, that's actually what I did without consciously doing it. And then the people said no, something that I talked about in a previous episode, although I don't know if it's going to air before or after this one. So it's an episode basically about the bullshit influencer culture and how that can really derail people in their lives. A lot of people felt like they weren't where they were because they were looking online every day and seeing people living the life they wanted, even if in the vast majority of cases it's fake. I sat down and I thought to myself, okay, I have a pretty decent life. There's nothing really wrong with my life. There are things that I need to work on. There are areas of improvement. There are goals that I'm moving towards. But I've got a good life. There's nothing really wrong with my life. Maybe if I was 10 years or 20 years older and I was where I am now, I wouldn't be very happy with it. But I feel like I'm on the right track and things are good. And I've got a great girlfriend. My mom is now healthy. My dad is healthy. I'm doing what I love to do. I got to write a book based on my experiences with my girlfriend. I get the podcast. I go on trips. I have a roof over my head. I have food in my belly. I have, a select group of people who I have around me that we have great conversation and in general, life's good. But could it be better? For sure. And if I got hung up on that, which I did for a while, it's actually very counterproductive to getting the life you want. So, in answer to the question of where I wanted to be, where I want to be, and whether I'm there, I decided to change it up a bit. So goals are great. I'm goal orientated. I've got goals in my phone for my day, my month, my week, my year, my life. And it's great to have those goals. And it's great to move towards those goals. But I have a different list that determines whether I am where I want to be. And that list is, am I happy? So I thought about what it is that makes me happy. So one thing that absolutely makes me happy is not having to uh, pander or listen to anyone about anything really. So being my own boss. I don't want to work for someone because I know that I'm going to be forced into something that is going to be against my values or my character. And when I'm put into that place, it doesn't go well. So I knew that. Do I have that? I do. Great. Um, I want to be able to wake up when my body tells me to wake up, whether that's 4 a.m. or noon. Now, I rarely ever get up after 8:30, but in the morning. But I do find happiness in not waking up to an alarm clock. That is a big thing for me. I felt like I was fighting against my entire day when I have to get up to an alarm clock. Now, if it's for something cool, okay, great. Like on our trip to Montana, we were getting up earlier than I would normally get up because we were going horseback riding and checking out Yellowstone and zip lining and whitewater rafting and checking out concerts and going to we were going in the hot tub and watching the sunrise, things like that, right? So we were there's a purpose of happiness. I guess that's the best way to put it. If this list is all about what makes me happy, those things made me happy, so they trumped those things like waking up at my own time and not waking up to an alarm. So there's things like that. What else makes me happy? Shauna makes me happy. Spending time with her dog Luna makes me happy. Getting a little wild sometimes with the things I do makes me happy. Being healthy makes me happy. Working out makes me happy. So I'm doing a lot of things that make me happy. I got my goals list, and that's great, but I focus in on what makes me happy. And as long as I'm generally following that list, I have now come to the conclusion that I am where I want to be. Does it mean that if I am tomorrow, if I make $10 million, I'm going to continue to live the way I'm living? Not necessarily. But here's the crux of that. Most of it, yes. I'm going to change up the way I live. For sure, I'll live in a different house. I'll buy a different vehicle. I'll travel more. I will definitely throw out an alarm clock. I will, it will allow me to lean into that happiness more. And that was where I was like, oh, wait. Okay. This makes sense now. So the things I'm doing now, the more abundance I have in my life, the more I can lean into those things. That is how you know you are where you want to be. And I don't let outside forces determine anything ever. I used to go on the internet and be like, oh man, why do they have that? Like, I deserve that. I don't do any of that anymore. I am all about just what makes me happy, and goals make me happy. So I set goals for my life. And it's not like I'm not a hippie dancing through the flowers. I'm like, I have goals. I want my events to work out. I want my book to sell. I want this podcast to do well, these sorts of things. But the goals that I set are even goals that make me happy. Right. So I'm not. I'm not saying recklessly disregard a nest egg for retirement or getting further in life. What I'm saying is, if you can tie happiness to all this stuff, you're always going to be where you want to be, which is pretty cool. Because I never saw it that way back in the day. I was very much one of those people that was never happy with his place in the world. And I would tell people all the time, I'm like, I just don't feel like I am where I want to be. I don't feel like the world really cares. I don't feel like I've made much of a difference. I don't, and I look at it and I go, I would jump. I was on like a project's high. So I would jump from project to project to project to try to get a high out of it and then get out of it instead of thinking of it long term. And I've done some advocacy work that was I feel very valuable. There are other people that feel it was very valuable, and it still wasn't enough. And now I look at it and I'm like, I wanted to change some lives. That was one of my goals set, make the world a better place is a piece of the mantra for this podcast. It was definitely a piece of a mantra for me. It still is. I would like to do more, but I have done that. So that's great. And to become a better person, I have done that. I have a lot of work to do, but I definitely I have done that, and that's made me happier. I do better every day in the fact that every morning I have my granogurt and my deviled eggs and my my vitamins and my my supplement shake and my big glass of milk, and I sit there and I catch up on the world that existed while I was asleep, and I learn a new something. So, are you where you want to be? Is a matter of perspective, is basically what I'm saying. And I think an interesting perspective that that I have to offer you is from Tito Santana, lovely segue, who is a WWE legend. And here he's going to talk about how when he was with WWE, he was very discontent with something. He didn't feel like he was where he was supposed to be or where he wanted to be, and it turned out he was.
This is WWE Hall of Famer Tito Santana giving a shout out to Jay Hall. You want to know if there was a time when I had to rise to the occasion? Well, WrestleMania 1. I had a horrible attitude going into that match because I was disappointed that I was the opening match. It wasn't until Vince, right before I went through the curtains, came up to me and said, Tito, the reason you are on first is because you need to get the people off their ass. You're setting the tempo. Boy, did that give me a different outlook on the reason that I was on the first match. And I went out there and I did my job. I got the people off their butts. And I didn't think about being on first. It didn't really matter after that, did it? And now, for many, many years after that, who was the first match in WrestleMania 1? Tito Santana. Jay, good luck with your podcast. Thank you very much. Arriba!
I love that he ended it with his tagline. Wrestlers are the best at branding, at personal branding. I'll tell you, they really know how to do it. So as Tito said, right, he's the first up at WrestleMania, and he's like, oh, this is terrible. And then he realizes why he's the first up. And the other thing about that is he was at WrestleMania, the biggest wrestling event ever at that time. It was like it was just so surreal that it was even happening. And he couldn't see that just being there was awesome until he was given the perspective. So being where you want to be is a matter of perspective. And if you have a healthy perspective, if you're moving towards happiness, if you're moving towards, if you're slowly chipping away at your goals while not sacrificing your happiness, then you should accept that you are where you want to be. Now, am I saying don't reach for the stars? 100% not. right? But your goals should be tied to your happiness. You know, there are a lot of people that say to me, well, I'll only be happy if I have, $20 million in the bank or whatever. Why? What are you going to do with that $20 million? Now, I understand your life will improve. Of course it will. I'm not saying don't make money. I love money. And in that, I actually hate money, but I love money in that when I have it, I can do more with my life and I can have better experiences. But, and I'm not the person to say money doesn't buy happiness, because ultimately it buys, it buys time, luxury, flexibility, things like that, which absolutely would make me happy. But I know accountants, I know electricians, I know firefighters, nurses, influencers, business influencers that have actually done something, authors, actors, and janitors, the whole spectrum of people that they have really great lives, but they're so stuck in that they look at a celebrity or they look at an influencer and say, they have that, I want that. And it costs them their ability to be happy in the moment. And you don't want to do that. So I don't know if this is going to work for you, but try it out. This is what I did. I separated my goals list from what makes me happy, focusing purely on what makes me happy. Then I went back to my goals list and actually I can give you a really tangible example for this. When I went back to my goals list, I wanted to make this app, this Better Business Builder app. And it was basically my take on developing a business plan and a data room. And I realized after I'd been away from it for a while and after I'd done my happiness list that was not a goal that would make me happy. It could make me money, but money while being miserable makes you miserable. So I cut it out. I said, you know what? I don't really want to get back into tech, at least not as a primary source of income. So I just cut the app out and I haven't looked back since. And I wouldn't have been able to make that decision had I not had that list, to what makes me happy. So am I where I want to be? Yes. Do I want more? Yes. Will I be a miserable sack if I don't get it? No, because of that happiness list and because my goals are tied to my happiness. The work makes me happy and it allows me to be where I want to be. My relationship, the same thing. My relationship with my family, same thing. So, I have challenges and I make wrong turns and sometimes I don't do better. But I've only allowed myself to be where I want to be because I know what makes me happy. And then I tie that to what I'm trying to do with my life. And ultimately, even if I don't succeed and make my millions and millions and millions and millions and millions, 24 million is my number, I'll be okay. I'll still be where I want to be because I'm happy. See? Worst smile ever. So that's what I have for you today on the Better Podcast, betterpodcast.live. That is our website. Leave a comment and tell me what if you think this is a tangible thing, if you think this can help you get to where you want to be and be more, maybe just be more content with your life and and where you're at. And tell me, if you are where you want to be, tell people how you did it. And if you're not, let's talk about it. So that's it. That's everything. Betterpodcast.live. That is our website. It's got our socials. It's got our feeds. It's got everything. Just go there. I'm not going to be like, go to, this on Instagram and this on TikTok and all that. It takes too long. It doesn't make me happy to do that. So betterpodcast.live. All you need to know. All right, guys. Later.
Thanks for checking out Better. If you got to the end, it must mean you liked the episode, right? So how about 5 stars? Maybe a sub, maybe a share. Great universal comment points. And good luck on your better journey.